universal means by which can be universally attained. So in rural development strategy, we have a rural development policies. Rural development strategy has its own ideological roots, which element of the strategy have been based. So strategy consists of an ordering of various policies parameters to attain desired goal. I have observed one paper from Peter Jacob, his study from South Africa, titled Pro-Poor and Development in South Africa. Uh, in this paper, National Development Plan boldly assert it seek the contribute towards achieving the objectives, reconstruction, and development programs. One study also I have seen in activities in rural society in South African countries by Tim Port. Mostly people are related to agriculture and other allied activities. I mean, needless to say, land is very important question in this matter. As we well known, distribution of land and other asset is very skewed in India. So, in recent approaches, what is the rural development in Africa? I can tell you the general approach followed by the government and donor to support African South African agriculture and rural development has evolved over time. It means this approach evolve has emphasis on technology transfer with the hope of development. It would have some trickle down effects through emphasis poverty elevation using a development focus on rural area. And it is also integrated approach to such rural development. So when people begin to question the lack of uh, impact of the integrated rural development approach, the latter was replaced by market liberalization through structural adjustment program, and consequences is direct support for agriculture and rural development either by donor or government. So if we observe in mid 1980s in South Africa, the agriculture sector was neglected by the both government and the donor community. So including the World Bank, which was the largest single donor in the sector, and World Bank report said the sector include bilateral and multilateral donor aid for the development of African agriculture. It has declined by half from the 9 to 1 million in 1981, I think, and 97 million in 2001, I think. So if moving away from the integrated rural development approach from the 1990s, donor strategy for agriculture, especially in African countries, was increasingly subsumed with a broader rural focus, which diminish the importance of agriculture sector. So donor support for the agriculture was a sprinkled across various activities like research, extension, credits, seeds, various policy reforms in rural space. But the little recognition of the potential synergy among them, the need for integration even among agriculture are subsectors. So if we observe in mid 90s, CDD, it is a community-driven development has emerged as one of the fastest growing approaches to rural development, and it is led by investment of various non-government organization and aid organization and multi-development or multilateral development banks. This CDD means community driven development stem from the recognition since 90s and the large scale bottom up and the demand driven poverty reduction subs projects can increase our institutional capacity of a small community for self development. So intensive form of community participation in especially in Africa have been attempted in projects funded by several donors for many and many years. So these things are include multilateral such as international funds for agriculture development, South Africa development banks, European Union, Food Culture Organization, United Nations. So many things are multilateral donors and bilateral donors like French agencies. One French agencies is I think Franchise D Fund and the World Bank. The Department of International Development Agencies in United Kingdom and the Canadian International Development Agencies have used many type of approaches for a long time as well as part of their sustainable livelihood, and it is integrated basic need development assistance in the developing countries. One, the Swedish International Development Agency and Danish International Development Agencies have also used this CDD principle because it is mandate of the right approach to the development projects and they are funding. Still they are funding. So some notable and successful CDD project in South Africa include like Benin National Community Driven Development Project, Nigeria's second National FEDEMA Development Project, the Morocco National Initiative for the Human Development Projects. So then, though investment lending for the agricultural sector in general and limited from the 1990s donor and continue funding rural project with agricultural component. If we go through the many recent approaches in the funding agriculture and rural development have so many development policies, loans, agriculture components with agriculture. It is the main target sector. These are the main target sector: environment, some natural resource management, some infrastructure oriented competitive improvement programs, and sector wise approaches to agricultural development because it aims to support single sector policies and also so many expenditure programs in support the agricultural sector. So all our approaches, these are still programs and projects, and also practice coordinated this integrated approach. So if we say the international experiences and approaches to rural development over time, we can say it is a sufficiently vague, allow to user, let it mean what she or he wants. Nevertheless, are the number of definitions that have been developed over the year, the majority which aim the simplicity. Now we come to the type of rural development strategy. Rural development strategy have a four characteristic. The one, the strategy based on collectiveness of resources, the strategy based on regulated capitalist perspective, third one, the strategy based on peasant agrarian perspective, And the last one is the strategy based on laissez-faire or unregulated free market capitalistic perspective. It means these four do not constitute an exhaustive list. It is very simply illustrative. Illustrative. So the first is our collectiveness of rural asset. It is very important in the first strategy because private ownership of land is abolished, so they do not have only there are inequalities in the ownership, but also eliminated. Land use can be made more productive. So the strategy of rural development, that is collectiveness of resources, is very important. It also raise the productivity by creating possibilities for the use of modern technology, for the use of our in agriculture field, like shape the tractors, harvesters, and these strategy are followed by with the fairly good success in the Soviet Union, China, Eastern European countries, and these countries are also able to make sharp increase in production. Matlab, it means the this strategy is very important, but it is not in operation anywhere currently. The second strategy on regulated capitalistic sector. In peasant sector, we get some support and protection from the states, like any large scale redistribution of land, reconfiguration of land are ruled out, and it is hoped the objective rapid growth would be taken. It means the rural development has been criticized not being to reckon with the fundamental contradiction in the rural area. It is pointed out that the without meaningful land reform is strategy can only unlimited success in rural inequality. And the peasant agrarian perspective, this is my third perspective on a rural development strategy. The peasant perspective, a peasant agrarian perspective, argue through going redistribution of land and overhaul of land relation. Means it give strong support for the small peasant unit, which is supposed to take care of twin objective of the growth. So we can see in South Africa peasant agrarian perspective, like so many cooperative institutions, marketing facility is accorded to critical importance in this strategy. Now come to the some policies. Uh, every rural development strategy has own ideological roots, which the various elements have been based. It means uh, which we have certain policies in rural development strategies, like land, it is all related to land, agriculture, employment, education, research. Now we come to the integrated rural development. What is integrated rural development? It has gained widespread acceptance in spite of fair amount of disagreement. Rural development expert in defining the concept. It means it is characterized by widespread poverty, poor health condition, literacy, exploitation, inequitable distribution of land, also other some assets, lack of rural infrastructure, like public utilities, like road, communication. These are the problems require an approach will take all these factors in devising a comprehensive strategy to further rural development. Means the integrated rural development came out in vogue with the need for the multi-purpose thrust to rural planning. Uh, it means the concept of integral rural development is a stress that various facets of rural development which have an impact on rural life. It is interrelated and cannot be looked at in the isolation. So in every society, rural development is very essential. The various dimension of rural life like growth of agriculture, allied activities, rural industrialization, etc. So if we go through the local participation in rural development, we have to follow three conditions. First, suppression of elitistic element in the rural areas so that the process of development is shaped actively by the poor. This is our first condition. The second is stressing the importance of the felt need of people at the local level and harnessing their energy and vision in designing appropriate program. This is second one. And the third one is the use of education as a tool in the people's perception towards changes in rural society. So education is used to enable people to organize themselves to change the societies, to change the boundaries. Whatever be the difference in the conceptualizing the notion of rural development strategies, there is widely shared view, and its essence should be poverty elevation and distribution, just oriented economic transformation. So our rural development strategy have some primary objectives. First is to improve our living standard by providing food, shelter, clothing, employment, and education. If these things are better for standard of living, then we can say it is a rural development. The second is increase productivity in rural area and reduce poverty. This is also a part of rural development. And third one is uh, to involve people in planning and development through their participation in decision making and through decentralization of administration. So you can say, or we can see, there is no single universal acceptable approaches towards development. We also saw that the strategy are necessary towards development because it is a very long process. If we talk about rural development program in reference with South Africa, the one thing is comprehensive rural development land reform report. It is, I think, from 2016 and 17. He said in DRDLR, acquired and distributed, I think 834 834,134 hectare of land throughout the country. This is program, rural development project and program. In DRDLR, quoted to ensure sustained production around I think 712 million smallhold farmers were supported through various initiatives including access to information. And in DRDLR, DRDLR is a comprehensive rural development program. Uh, I think 10,271 resource poor, historically disadvantaged producers were given support that enabled them to access water. More than 2,000 water use licenses were finalized and enabling the farmers to irrigate their land. One other thing I observe in DRDLR, a total around 33,341 smallholders producer were assisted to access markets and to increase the farmers' competence and help them to take advantage of market opportunities. This is the South African studies. What this time I have told you. Food also was distributed around 2.8 million people through Food for All programs. And one thing also I observe in that program, about 9 million learners are provided the nutritious meal through the school nutrition program. So this department initiated a land program called One Household, 1 Hectare. This is 2015 study and targeting state-owned farm proactive land acquisition strategies, that is called PLAS, or creating a small rural holders, producer at the house level hold, and to ensure food security, reduce poverty, create sustainable environment, broaden the skill base, and support agri-park programs. So 150 sites are benefiting and 5,734 households across the country has been approved the 6 city benefiting. 689 household had been launched. So more than 100 proposals have been received for the strengthening of relative uh, right, called SRR, and which 14 had been approved by the end of 2016-17 in the financial year, and rupees and one word is quoted R689785 invested benefited to the beneficiaries. So many land reform in that time. So one I can give you example from the South Africa about the land reform. The Commission for the Restitution of Land Right has been end by the year 2016 and 17. Financial years settled 790212 and the land claimed lodged by the December 31, 1998. So Department of Rural Development Land Reform Annual Report 2016 observe what Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister Makebisi Swatsa. He was a deputy minister. He said rural development and land reform development budget report claimed the Minister of Rural Development and Land Reform and MCs have signed delivery agreement based on outcome around vibrant, equitable, and sustainable rural community with food security and all. So we can say the community development program and the rural development program, which are also initiated by 90s 50, it intended to involve rural participation in rural development program. Water, pani. Now we come to the some theories related to rural development. In first session, I have told Rostow stage of growth. That is one theory for rural development. The second is the Lewis theory of development. The Lewis theory of development, one sociologist or social scientist, you can say, Arthur Lewis, 1950s, forward a different theory of development. And according to Lewis, he said that undeveloped countries are characterized by the presence of two sectors. First is the traditional rural sector, which is nature of substances economy and providing self-consumptions countries within the, not self-consumption within this sector. This sector is surplus of labor. So traditional agricultural structure or sector, and second is the modern urban industrial sector where the very productivity is very high. What is surplus labor? I can define you. It means the existence of such huge population in the agriculture state or agricultural sector that the marginal product of labor is zero. So I can say if a few workers are removed from the land, the total product remain unchanged. That is surplus labor. The essence of development process in such an economy, one quotation I can say, the transfer of labor resources from the agricultural sector where they add nothing to production to the more modern industrial sector where they create surplus that they be used further growth and development. So in our Lewis model, the transformation process or the process of structural change start by the autonomous expansion in the demand in industry. As a result, change in domestic consumer taste in government purchases. The in Lewis theory, the central point is that labor shift from agriculture to industry. The supply of labor from agriculture to industry is unlimited, like complete. It is, that is why completely elastic at the given urban wage, about 30 to 50% higher than the rural wage, relative share of the agricultural labor forces at the margin. So the phenomena is very frequently labeled, that is distinguished unemployment in agriculture. It is labeled a redundant supply on unskilled labor to industries at the existing wage hold down industry labor cost, but the higher demand and higher prices in industry, so it gives higher profits. So when these profits are plow back into industrial capital formation, demand for industrial output, both for consumption goods by newly employed worker and invested by capitalist. So the process comes to the halt when agricultural productivity rises to point where the supply prices to labor to industry increases. That is that point at which agricultural alternative of output and income are sufficiently attractive to the, it would be more industrial worker to keep them in farming. So in the absence of rural urban differences in most living, this occur when the marginal product of labor in the two sectors are equal. So the theorist Lewis, in his development theory, he said the existence of the substances sector with surplus labor, and he see in this seed for the substances sector, one major characteristic of the capitalist sector is that use reproducible capital and it produce profit. So there is surplus labor from the subsistence sector, and the capitalist sector draw its labor from the subsistence sector, and also it is assumed that an result of rapid increased population, it is already densely populated countries, the supply of unskilled labor is unlimited. This is our Lewis theory. The last theory, interdependence theory. It is also related to rural development theory. It is gained around the 1970s, and particularly economists in the developing countries. Theories view the problem of underdevelopment as one arising out of domination of poorer country by by the richer one, I think. So what dependency theory said, it is a notion that resource flow from the periphery of poor underdeveloped states to the core of wealthy states, enriching the later at the expenses of the former. Central contention of dependency theory is that poor states are improvised and rich one enriched by the way poor states are integrated into the world system. So, this international dependence theory said it is a reaction to modernization theory. It is a earlier theory of development which held that all society progress through similar stages of development, and that today underdeveloped area in a similar situation that today developed area at the sometime in the past also. So we can say dependency theory rejected some views, investment, technology, market. This theory rejected. So some theorists or some social scientists argue for continuing relevance as a conceptual orientation to the global division of wealth. And also this theory can be divided into two way, like one is liberal reformist and second is neo-Marxist. Liberal reformist is a advocated for target policy inventions, but neo-Marxist believe in command enter economy. So this session is about to finish, I think. And you have any query, you can ask, write a question on your chat box. Thank you. If you go through your study material, you will get more and more data. And I'll share my PowerPoint presentation is here. Yes, already discussed rural development in regard to other African countries. I have given so many examples. I'll talk about neo-Marxist and liberal in next lecture. Because here is no use of or no discussion for neo-Marxist and liberal. So we can discuss neo-Marxist or neoliberal in next lecture. That is related to my next lecture. One question, how does the strategy of collectivization of resource work in country where the lack of accountability? Hope this strategy may not work in African countries. It can work. A strategy of collectivization resource work in countries. No, it can work. You can go through the some research paper. I'll tell you some studies. I have seen some studies about the African countries. I can give you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. One study, some David Ahart, the commodification of collective action in South Africa. That is an article. You can check this article. He quoted the strategy of collectivization of resources. Ojok, you have written, what advice can you give to students who are employed and have to be at workplace and at the same time attend the counseling session? Is possible to have these sessions during weekends? We have already scheduled these sessions. Yeah, I'll tell you panchayat. What is panchayat? Panchayat means, I don't know what is called in South Africa. I'll tell you. The delegation, I think it means it is a council of 5 officials. I don't know what is called. It is a local self-government in a village. That is panchayat. And the Panchayati Raj institution through which the self-government of villages realized. They are tasked with economic development, strengthening the social justice, and implementation of central and state government scheme, including those some like 11 those things are listed. So gram panchayat at the village level, mandal parishad at the block level. So you can understand it is a council of 5 officials. It is a system of local self government of village. It is panchayat. Let me rural poverty approach. This will be my next topic, rural poverty approach, tomorrow's. Kwasi Foster Zimi, you raised your hand. Please write a question on chat box. Manorama ma'am. Manorama ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma.
Yeah. you have any other question, or we can.
It's enough for today. We can knock off.
Okay, today don't have any question to ask. Is there any person from regional center Lucknow? Hello.
Yeah.
Is there any person from regional center Lucknow? What happened? Nobody is.
They are muted.
Okay, now the today's session is end, and we'll meet tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you,
Thank
listening
you.
very
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.